Well, and good evening, everyone. We are back. We're doing our systems check, of course. Make sure you can see, make sure you can hear, make sure that everything's working, that we are 5 by 5, and all systems are a go. I'm doing the same thing that you guys are doing, double checking right now. Also, make sure you guys tag some people, share this, let everybody know that we are online, that we are here for our midweek refuel. And I'm excited about this word. Originally, I had a different message planned for tonight. I was going to continue the conversation from this morning about altruism and about the idea of being selfless and committed to helping and serving others. But as I was moving through the rest of my afternoon, the rest of my evening specifically, more and more attention was given to the concept of the placement of our commitment. And so that's what we're going to talk about in just a little bit. We're going to jump right into understanding or challenging ourselves, rather, to determine where we are placing our commitment, because this is even more important than the commitment itself. Because if you're committed to the wrong thing, if you're committed to something that you shouldn't be, if you're committed to the wrong person, as we have all been in those types of relationships, you see where those things take you. And so we need to make sure that in this season, in this era, in this time of commitment that we've been talking about, that we understand and that we challenge and acknowledge and also hold ourselves accountable for making sure that we are committed in the right places. So we're going to get started in just one more minute. I'm going to give everybody a chance to tag some people, to share this post, let everybody know that we are online, and then we're going to jump right into it. I don't have any points for you guys tonight. Normally I have 3 to 5 points, none tonight. We're just going to have a conversation because this is important, and this is something that I have seen come up in multiple conversations over the last week, and it's something that has been coming up more and more frequently. And when we talk about commitment, and we talk about leadership, and we talk about the way we're supposed to be giving back, and we talk about how we're supposed to be moving, excuse me, and how we're supposed to be impacting our communities, this term commitment is the underpinning of all of those things, right? We talked about the fact that commitment is corny. We talked about that last week. It's not going to be glamorous all the time. You're not going to get applause all the time. You're not going to get accolades and pats on the back all the time. You're not going to get acknowledged all the time. But the work still must be done. And so I'm going to go ahead and pray, and then we're going to get right into this, guys, because I'm not going to hold you on long tonight. I respect everybody's time. Thank you for being here again. If you are new life, if you know there's some people who should be on that aren't watching right now, because I know that we're virtual tonight, you let them know, call them, text them, tag them, let them know that we are online, and they're going to miss a word this evening. So we're going to go ahead and pray, and then we're going to get right into this thing. Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for our midweek refuel. We thank you for the platform that allows us to reach multiple people wherever they are, no matter what, if they're driving, if they're traveling, if they're sitting at home or sitting somewhere else, that we can still reach them and give them a word and encourage them and empower them, enlighten them, but also challenge them to continue to become that best version of themselves. I ask that you would be with me right now as we bring a word that's going to step on some toes. It's going to make some people feel a little uncomfortable, but you've called us in this season to create some discomfort and to walk through some discomfort in order for us to become what you called us to become in this season. And so I said, you'll just speak to me, speak through me, that it'd be less of me and more of you, that it may be the word that you have given to me, that you would have imparted onto them. That's all these things in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Listen, guys, we're going to get right into it. Sorry, I had to find somewhere to put my phone. I was doing the same thing you guys were doing. Like I said, I was making sure that I was letting everybody know that we were on. But I want everybody to understand that we have commitment problems. We have commitment issues. And excuse me, I say that because it's always easy to commit to things that are pleasurable. It's easy to commit to things that bring us joy. It's easy to commit to things that are easy, right? That's not complicated. See, the thing that we have commitment issues with are things that are difficult, the things that are hard, the things that are challenging us. And so we've got to ask ourselves in this season, what are you committed to? As we talk about commitment, and we talked about some other aspects of it, we talked about the things that will help you drive that commitment and be a beacon of commitment, and that you can embody commitment. But first of all, you got to determine what you're committed to. You see, there's many people who are committed to accolades. There's many people who are committed to titles. They're committed to positions. They're committed to power. They're committed to authority. They're committed to the novelty of what it looks like socially. They're committed to the likes and all the shares that happen on social media. They're committed to the photo op, but they're not committed to the work. See, we're going to get into it tonight. They're not committed to the work. And so we've got to make sure that our commitment matches our intentions. Oh, y'all stay with me tonight. We have to make sure that our commitment matches our intentions. You see, the word says, and we're going to come from Matthew 6:19-24. And it says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, now we're going to get into that in a second, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is dark, how great is that darkness? And this is the verse that we always talk about. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now, I want us to make sure that in this moment that we step away from the money and the material aspect of this commentary here. Okay, there are talking about, right, that love of money and where you store your treasures up and the things that you're committing yourself to, right? But I want us to take a step back and realize that this is analogous for the entirety of commitment. What you're committed to, you have to be committed all in, right? We talked a long time ago about being fence riders, and we talked about having one foot in and one foot out. And we have to make sure in this season that we are no longer lukewarm. Bible talks about that, spewing us out because we're lukewarm, because we are neither in nor we're out. And when we talk about commitment, we have to ask ourselves, what are we committed to? You see, some people think that you can still be committed to peace and chaos. Well, you can't do both. There are some people who are wondering why their lives aren't moving forward because they're only partially committed to the transition, the change, and the work, but they're still more committed to the comfort of what they've known. They're still more committed to the people who are holding them back. They're still more committed to the nonsense that is getting them distracted. And so we have to make sure that we are looking at the commitment with a microscope. We have to be meticulous in the analyzing of our commitment levels and where our commitment is placed, because your commitment is going to be matched by your intention. And also your commitment is going to be at the exact level of your focus, your energy, the placement, and your intentionality. So we have to make sure that we are putting all those things in the right place. And the reason I will bring this back to us having a commitment issue and then we have commitment problems, because when we start making this transition, when we start saying, God, yes, I trust you. God, yes, I believe you. God, yes, I know that you're going to do great works. God, yes, I'm going to step into this role. God, yes, I'm going to do what you called me to do. God, yes, I'm going to step into this room. That comes with work. That comes with discomfort. That comes with some things happening outside of your calling, outside of your past, outside of your tasking, outside of the pathway that you're walking on, because the enemy wants you to not ever be successful. The enemy wants you to give up. The enemy wants you to throw in the flag. The enemy wants you to quit. And so what he's going to do is that he's going to place all sorts of things happening all outside and around you. All these external things are going to go awry. All kind of other stuff's going to go crazy. It's going to be catastrophe after catastrophe. Why? Because the enemy knows that if he can get you unfocused and more committed on the things that are going wrong, you're going to miss your calling. You're going to step away from what you've been called to do. You're going to step away from your assignment. You're going to begin to question what God has you doing, not because what you're doing is wrong, not because it's difficult, not because it's not what you're supposed to be doing, not because there's conviction, but because what's happening outside of your calling has you distracted. See, we've got to get to a place where we understand that our commitment level and where we focus our energy We have to put our blinders on. We have to realize that when I say I'm going to do this thing, and God has called me to do this thing, and that it has been confirmed, and it has been reaffirmed, and that other people have noticed it, other people have called it forth, other people have spoken into existence, I have spoken it into existence. This is not a time for me to allow things happening outside of my calling, my path, and my assignment to get me out of whack. You see, it's real easy for us to look outside and look at the other things that are happening outside of the body, or outside of our ministry, or outside of our calling, or outside of what God has said that we're supposed to be doing. It's real easy for us to look at the world and be like, well, I got all this happening, and there's some things that are going on, and I can't focus right now. You can't focus because you're distracted. You're distracted because you're committing energy, effort into something that's not your business. You're committing energy and effort into something you can't fix. You're committing energy and effort into something that you can't change. You're committing energy and effort into something that was never meant for you to carry in the first place. So we're placing all this energy and all this commitment everywhere but in our assignment. Stay with me tonight. I'm not going to be on long. We're placing our energy, our commitment, our focus, and our intention everywhere but in our assignment. And then we wonder why nothing is working out. You see, the interesting thing about following God, the interesting thing about when we go and decide that we're going to be committed to Him, we talk about being dedicated. The interesting thing about that is that He's going to deal with everything else. This is the part that we often miss, is that when we commit to our calling, when we commit to our assignment, God's going to take care of all the other stuff. But we think that we got to quit God and go deal with the other stuff. That's the human side. That's the hubris, the ego that we carry around. Let me stop what I'm doing for God and go deal with all this stuff in the world. That isn't your business. That isn't your assignment. God's going to take care of everything else. Now, I know there are times when things are overwhelming, and you may have to take a break. You may have to take a pause. You may have to, slow down for a bit. But I'm going to say this, and I'm not really concerned about who gets upset about it. Slowing down doesn't mean you abandon your assignment. I'm going to say that again. Slowing down doesn't mean you abandon your assignment. You may have to adjust how you deliver, how you execute your assignment. You may have to adapt. You may have to pivot. We've done a whole year worth of pivoting and resetting. Excuse me. Sorry. You may have to do some of those things that you should already have the tools and knowledge and the experience to do in the first place. We've already talked about that for the last 2.5, 3 years. So you should have the tools at your disposal to understand how to pivot, how to reset, and how to maneuver a difficult and maybe challenging situation, but you don't abandon your assignment. You see, this is what slows down progress. This is what slows down your internal progress. It slows down the progress in your household. It slows down the progress in your community. It slows down the progress even beyond that in your calling, in your walk, in the ministry, or wherever you are operating. Maybe it's at your work. Maybe it's in your own business. Maybe you're trying to be an entrepreneur. So you're slowing everything down because you abandoned your assignment. And you wonder why nothing's working. If you stay focused and committed, we talked about that. You stay committed, you persevere, you press through the nonsense, you press through the external things, you press through the things that the enemy's trying to throw at you. You press through all of the things. This is why the armor is all mentioned at the front. What am I saying? When you look at in Ephesians, we talk about all the armor of God, and you talk about all the different ways, and it describes the helmet and the breastplate. It never talks about anything being on its back. It never talks about anything being on your back. Why? Because you're supposed to be going forward. Everything is about protecting the front, facing forward, marching, pressing, persevering, going, continuing on and forward. You can't abandon your assignment. There's too much happening, and there's too many people assigned to you. Now, this is the thing about disobedience, and you've heard me talk about this before. When you're being disobedient, you also have to acknowledge, and you will be held accountable for all the people that you are assigned to and that are assigned to you that haven't been able to get their breakthrough because you're being disobedient. So you have to give an account for that. That's something people don't want to talk about that part. You see, I gotta step down. I can't do this anymore. Meanwhile, there's an entire set of individuals who have been assigned to you, who are connected to you, who are counting on you, that you are obligated to, that you also abandon their walk. You abandon their progress. You've abandoned their empowerment. You've abandoned their blessings. You've abandoned their opportunity. You see, you don't want to think about that because we're too busy thinking about ourselves. This is the whole thing about being altruistic that I talked about this morning. It's about selfless. You don't do it because you're going to get praise. You don't do it because you're going to get recognition. You don't do it because you're going to get awards. You don't do it because you're going to move up and there's going to be opportunity for advancement. You do it because it's the right thing. And see, when you're committed to doing the right thing, what does it say here in the word? Is that when your eyes are healthy, you're looking at the right thing, your body's going to be full of light. So you have to make sure that you stay committed in this season. The enemy's whole design is to make sure that you quit, is to make sure that you give up, is to make sure that you throw in the towel, is to make sure that you say, you know what, this ain't worth it. That's what he's trying to do. That's why things are turbulent right now. That's why things feel out of sorts right now. The more and more you commit, the more complicated some aspects of your life will get. But guess what? But wait, there's more, right? God's going to take care of that. If God called you into this lane, if God called you, we talked about this before. Your cross is yours. Its design, its ergonomics, its weight, everything was designed for you to carry it. Which means if your assignment and you have committed to your assignment, you understand your assignment, then God's going to handle all the other things so that you can carry out your assignment. It is arrogance on our behalf to think that we have to abandon God in order to go deal with some stuff that God said he already got. He already has that taken care of. He's already dealing with that. He's already protecting you with that. He's already maneuvering and redirecting you from that. He's already handling all the things that you're so concerned about that you can't do your assignment, that you can't do what God has called you to do in this season, that you can't operate the way God's called you to operate in this season, that you can't set yourself up for success and the success of others, because that is also what you've been called to do in this season. It is not merely for you, but for everybody connected to you now and in the future. So you need to understand that in this season of commitment, you need to ask yourself, what are you committed to? Are you committed to melee and foolishness? Are you committed to gossip and nonsense? Are you committed to all the foolishness that's going on social media? Are you committed to going out and wilding and staying out in the streets? If that's what you're committed to, I can't stop you with that. But don't you dare act like your assignment is the problem. The assignment's not the issue. Your commitment is the issue. Where you're putting your commitment, that's the issue. Where you're putting your energy, that's the issue. Where you're putting your focus, that's the issue. And we've got to get serious. The world is in calamity. And if there was ever a time for us to be serious about our commitment and serious about our assignments and serious about what God has called us to do and serious about how we're supposed to be supporting and helping and nurturing and caring for other people, it is today. It is today. We do not have the luxury of being oblivious, neither the luxury of being half in and half out. We've been doing this thing and we have overcome. You've heard me talk about our short-term memory loss. We get delivered 2 days later, panic button. We get delivered 2 weeks later, panic button. We get delivered a month later, panic button. We get delivered 6 months later, panic button. We forget so fast how God just brought us from a thing, how he just delivered us from a thing, how he just answered a prayer, how he just paid something that we had no idea where the money was going to come from, how we just got out of debt for something that we didn't even know we were going to be able to pay for. We got our car repaired and we don't even know how that person showed up and knew that we needed the repairs that had to happen. You see, God is operating all the time, and yet we think that we have to stop serving him in order to deal with some nonsense. Get out of yourself A, it's not all about you. And B, that stuff is merely a distraction. All that stuff is merely something to get you off and out of focus. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I am saying you have a choice. I am saying that the responsibility is yours. I am saying that you're going to be held accountable for it. I am saying that you have the ability, the power, and the authority to choose to continue to stay on the path of your assignment. You don't have to let all this noise deafen your ear to God. You don't have to let all this noise cancel out what you've already seen God do in your life. You've already seen him do it. You've already seen him show up. He showed up for some of y'all just this morning. He showed up for some of y'all just yesterday. He showed up for some of y'all 2 minutes ago. And yet we're going to sit here and act like we have to consider and reconsider and debate and think about whether or not we're going to stay committed to our assignment, that we're going to stay committed to our path, that we're going to stay committed to what he's called us to do in this season, that we're going to stay committed to the people he's called us to serve in this season, the community he's called us to serve in this season, the young people he's called us to serve in this season, the elders he's called us to serve in this season, the sick and the shut-in he's called us to serve in this season. We're going to deliberate and debate on that when he continues to show up day in and day out. How dare us? Told you might not like me tonight, but we're going to get into it because this is important and we have to get serious. We have to get serious with our commitment. If you're going to be out, be out. Be all the way out. But if you're going to be in, be all the way in. Half stepping is not going to get us anywhere. Half stepping is not going to get you where you're supposed to be going. Some of you all have massive dreams and massive visions, and God has given you and he's shown you some things, and he's shown you some snippets, and he's shown you the preview, but you won't commit. And then you keep asking God, where is it at? Why isn't it here yet? Why haven't I seen it? Why isn't it my time? It's not your time because you're not doing any work. It's not your time because you won't commit. It's not your time because you're too busy being distracted. It's not your time because you want to abandon your assignment. That's why it hasn't happened yet. We got to get serious. We have to get serious. Time is now. If ever there was a time for us to exude peace and tranquility and altruism and being selfless and being caring and being committed and being helpful and being empowering and exemplifying unity, the time is now. We have the ability to turn the tide and change the narrative, to change the lens, the perspective, and the trajectory of all the things that are happening the way that we have seen them and the way that we're seeing them unfold. We have the ability. We just can't abandon our assignment. Again, you may have to adjust, you may have to pivot, you may have to reset, you may have to recalibrate. You have to coordinate some things. You may have to look at some stuff and come up with a different strategy. But you don't get to abandon your assignment. It's yours for a reason. You're built for it, and it was made for you. So persevere. Keep going. At every cross and at every fork, at every intersection, at every choice, what are you committed to? Let that be part of the guiding principles that help make the decisions that you will be making and be forced to make going forward. You've got to determine what you're going to be committed to, because that's where your energy is going to be. That's where your intention is going to be. That's where your effort is going to be. And if you're seeing a lot of craziness, if you're seeing a lot of chaos, if you're seeing a lot of foolishness, part of it may be that you're still committed to that nonsense. Because we all have a choice to walk away from that as well. It's interesting that we'll walk away from God before we'll walk away from the things that are destroying our lives. It's interesting that we'll walk away from God before we'll walk away from the things that are destroying our lives. We need to pivot on that and start walking away from the things that are causing destruction and getting ourselves back in alignment. When you're in alignment, the assignment's easy. When you're in alignment, the assignment's fun. When you're in alignment, the assignment's not the issue. When you're in alignment, the assignment also brings you joy, brings you peace, brings you happiness, brings you a sense of belonging, brings you a sense of accomplishments, brings you a sense of gratitude. When you're in alignment, the assignment helps keep you focused. Don't walk away from the assignment. Don't bail out now. Don't quit now. Don't give up now. We got to keep persevering. We got to keep pressing. We got to keep walking. What are you committed to in this season? And if it's destroying you, you need to change where that commitment is. Listen, guys, that's all the time I have for you tonight. Hope you enjoyed this word. I do hope, honestly, that this word was a little bit prickly. It stepped on some toes, and that we are all looking at ourselves and saying, you know what? Part of why things aren't working out is because I'm giving it too much of my energy. I'm giving the nonsense, I'm giving the foolishness, I'm giving it too much of my energy. I'm thinking on it too much. Maybe I'm not acting on anything, but my mind is wrapped up in all of the nonsense, and I'm not able to focus on what God is doing. I'm not able to focus on the positive. I'm not able to focus on the things that are going well in my life. I'm not able to focus on the things that are going good in my life. So commit your energy and your focus to the things that are going well. That's the 99%, but we always focus on that, the negative 1%, and we let it destroy, conquer, and take over all of our thoughts. We've got to take those thoughts captive and start moving away from those and committing ourselves to the things that are good. We believe that new life is great ground to sow into, guys. So I'm gonna put our giving methods on the screen. That's all I got for you tonight. And we got our Zelle, our Cash App, and our Give a Fly, and of course our PO Box. So we've got $26 for 2026. If you can and will, go ahead and sow your seed. If you can do it while you are online, go ahead and type seeds down in the chat. We'll make sure that we pray over your seed, because we know that giving is also a way to show not only your commitment to your ministry, but a commitment to your future. Right? It's less about us and more about, when you sow that seed, you're committing something to the ground that you know is going to grow. There's going to be a harvest. So get that seed in the ground, and we'll be praying over your seed. And don't forget that we have our Positive Pivot on Saturday. Actually, I just misspoke. We're doing our 40 Words for 40 Days series. So I'm going to keep bringing you guys a word every single day, a word that's challenging, a word that's uplifting, a word that's encouraging, but also a word that we have to think about. How do you apply that word in your everyday life? And don't forget, I'm sorry, I'm still fighting a cold, guys, that we got our Sunday morning worship experience, 47B. Be there or be square, because you will not be around. And come in and get your worship on, get your hips in the church. And if you can't, you're not in the Jersey area, join me here. New York International will be joining and fellowshipping, worshiping online with our brothers and sisters. So with that being said, guys, do not forget that this new life is for everyone. As always, let's change the way that we think, so we change the way that we live. Until next time, stay blessed.